The Whitmore mansion loomed over the hillside like a silent sentinel, its glass walls catching the late afternoon sun and throwing shards of light across the manicured gardens below. Inside, however, there was no warmth. The halls were quiet, the air heavy with a grief that seemed to seep into the marble floors. Charles Whitmore, billionaire and titan of industry, stood by the grand staircase in a tailored navy suit, though his shoulders slumped under an invisible weight. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, sat motionless in her wheelchair near the bay window, her tiny hands resting limply in her lap. Since the accident that had taken her mother's life and left her paralyzed, Lily hadn't spoken a single word. Dozens of therapists and nannies had come and gone, all of them leaving defeated, whispering that the little girl was unreachable. But Charles refused to give up, even as his hope grew thinner by the day. The doorbell's sharp chime broke the silence, and he glanced at the butler, who moved to open it. Standing on the threshold was a young black woman in a simple, modest dress, her dark eyes steady, her posture calm but unyielding. "Mr. Whitmore? I'm Maya Reynolds," she said softly, her voice carrying a strange warmth that seemed to settle the charged air. Charles looked her up and down, skeptical. She was younger than he expected and carried no medical bag, no toys, no charts. "You're the new caretaker?" he asked, his tone clipped. "Yes, sir," Maya replied, unfazed. "I understand Lily hasn't responded to others. I'd like to try a different approach, if you'll permit me." Charles sighed, rubbing his temple. "You can try. Nothing else has worked." As Maya stepped inside, Lily's gaze shifted, barely perceptible, but enough for Charles to notice. For the first time in months, his daughter seemed to acknowledge someone's presence. Maya knelt in front of her, meeting her eyes at level. "Hello, Lily," she said gently. "I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to be your friend." Lily's fingers twitched against the wheelchair's armrest, her blank stare softening for just a moment. Charles, standing silently behind them, felt the faintest spark of hope flicker in his chest. Maya rose early the next morning, long before the mansion stirred to life. The scent of brewed coffee wafted from the kitchen as the staff prepared breakfast, but she didn't linger. Instead, she carried a small basket filled with wildflowers from the edge of the estate gardens and slipped quietly into Lily's room. The child was awake, staring blankly at the ceiling, her small hands folded tightly in her lap. "Good morning, Lily," Maya said softly, placing the flowers in a glass vase near the window. "I brought these for you. They're called forget-me-nots. Fitting, don't you think?" Lily's eyes flickered briefly, tracking Maya's movements. It wasn't much, but Maya noticed. She didn't try to force conversation. Instead, she began humming a gentle melody her grandmother once sang in the mornings back home. Later that afternoon, Maya wheeled Lily out into the gardens. The sun bathed the flowers in gold, and a warm breeze ruffled the girl's hair. "I'll make you a deal," Maya said, crouching in the grass, so her face was level with Lily's. "I'll dance. You don't have to do anything but watch." Without waiting for an answer, Maya kicked off her shoes and stepped barefoot onto the cool grass. She twirled and laughed, her movements free and unself-conscious, like a child chasing the wind. At first, Lily's face remained impassive, but then, just barely, her lips twitched. Charles, watching from his study window above, froze mid-call. He leaned closer to the glass, heart pounding. Was that a smile? Maya slowed her dance and knelt beside Lily again. "You don't have to dance yet," she whispered gently. "But maybe tomorrow we'll let the sun touch your hands." For the first time since the accident, Lily lifted her small fingers ever so slightly, reaching out toward a stray sunbeam. Charles, unseen behind the glass, covered his mouth with his hand, his eyes stinging. He couldn't remember the last time his daughter had made a movement on her own. In that quiet garden, something fragile and precious had shifted, and Charles realized this young woman might just be the first person to reach his daughter's heart. Charles couldn't sleep that night. The image of Lily's faint smile and her fingers stretching toward the sunlight replayed in his mind like a dream he didn't dare believe. Something about Maya unsettled him, not in a bad way, but in a way that gnawed at his instincts. How had this young woman accomplished what professionals and specialists with decades of experience could not? Restless, he called his private investigator. Look into Maya Reynolds. Discreetly, he ordered. By morning, the report came back, and the answer was not what Charles expected. Sir, the investigator said cautiously over the phone, Maya Reynolds isn't a certified caretaker. She's not even in any agency databases. Charles's grip on his coffee mug tightened. Then who is she? She's a doctor, the man said, pausing as if to let the word settle. A pediatric neurosurgeon. She was one of the youngest to lead surgeries at St. Jude's, highly respected, until 2 years ago. Charles's heart pounded. What happened? She lost a patient during a risky operation. After that, she disappeared. No practice, no teaching. Nothing. Charles stood at the window, staring down at the garden where Maya knelt beside Lily's wheelchair, gently guiding her hand with a paintbrush. Lily's face was bright with concentration, her first expression of joy in nearly a year. Maya said something that made Lily giggle, and the sound floated up like a melody Charles thought he'd never hear again. She's healing her in ways I couldn't imagine, he whispered to himself, the weight of the revelation sinking in. But a voice in his mind nagged. Why didn't she tell me? Later that evening, Charles called Maya into his study. The air was thick with unspoken questions as he placed her file on the desk between them. You're not a caretaker, he said, his voice low but steady. You're a neurosurgeon. Why are you really here, Maya? Maya didn't flinch. She met his eyes with quiet resolve. Because Lily doesn't need a doctor right now, she said softly. She needs someone to remind her she's still alive. The study felt colder than usual as Maya entered, her calm expression betraying no hint of a storm brewing in Charles's chest. He stood by the window, arms folded, the faint glow of the city skyline casting sharp angles across his face. Sit, he said quietly, though his tone left no room for refusal. Maya obeyed, her posture straight, hands resting in her lap. For a long moment, Charles said nothing, his eyes fixed on the glass where her reflection waited. You lied to me, he said, finally his voice low and measured. You're not a caretaker. You're Dr. Maya Reynolds, one of the youngest neurosurgeons in the country. Why hide that? Maya didn't flinch under his scrutiny. Because Lily doesn't need a surgeon, she said softly. She needs someone to meet her where she is, not where a medical chart says she should be. Charles turned sharply, his frustration flashing. Do you think I haven't tried? I've brought in the best doctors, therapists, and specialists money can buy. None of them worked. And now I find out that the one person she responds to is running from her own life. Maya's gaze didn't waver, but there was pain behind her steady eyes. You're right. I was running. 2 years ago, I lost a child on my operating table. A little boy. Not much older than Lily. I did everything right, but it wasn't enough. I couldn't save him. Her voice cracked just slightly. I couldn't save him, and I couldn't save myself from the guilt. Charles's anger softened, replaced by something heavier, understanding. So you came here to what? Redeem yourself. No, Maya said firmly. I came here because Lily deserves someone who won't give up on her. Not because she's a patient, but because she's a little girl who's forgotten how to smile. Charles's throat tightened as memories of his daughter's laughter before the accident surfaced unbidden. He took a deep breath, his shoulders sagging. You've done more for her than anyone else ever has, he admitted. But don't keep secrets from me again. Maya nodded solemnly. I won't. For the first time, Charles offered her a small, tired smile. Then stay. Please stay for Lily. The morning sun streamed through Lily's bedroom window, casting golden stripes across the floor as Maya helped the little girl into her wheelchair. Today felt different, lighter somehow, as though the air itself was holding its breath. For weeks now, Lily had been laughing more, speaking in soft, hesitant words, and reaching out for Maya's hand whenever she entered the room. But today, Maya had a bold idea. Let's go to the garden, she said gently. Charles followed behind them, his heart caught between hope and fear as they rolled across the manicured lawn. The scent of roses mingled with the soft chirping of birds as Maya stopped beside a white stone bench. She knelt in front of Lily, her voice low and encouraging. "Do you trust me?" Lily nodded, her small fingers gripping the arms of the wheelchair. "Then let's try something together. Just for a moment." Maya gently placed Lily's feet on the grass and held her hands. "You don't have to walk. Just stand. I'll be right here." Charles felt his chest tighten as he stepped closer, his hands twitching with the urge to intervene. But he stayed still, afraid to break the fragile magic forming before his eyes. Lily's brows furrowed in concentration. Her legs trembled violently as she pushed against the chair, Maya's steady hands supporting her. And then, miraculously, Lily stood, wobbly, unsure, but standing on her own 2 feet. Charles's breath hitched as tears blurred his vision. "Daddy," the single word, soft and tentative, fell from Lily's lips like sunlight piercing storm clouds. Charles dropped his knees, his arms outstretched as fresh tears rolled down his cheeks. "Lily, baby girl." She took a tiny step forward, just one, and collapsed into his embrace. Sobs racked his body as he held her tight. "You're my miracle," he whispered. Over Lily's shoulder, he met Maya's eyes, his voice thick with emotion. "You didn't just heal her body. You healed her soul and mine too." Maya smiled, her own tears falling freely. For the first time in years, the Whitmore mansion wasn't silent. It was alive, filled with laughter, love, and the sound of hope reborn.